Some YouTube guru talked you into wholetailing. You bought a house, cleaned it out, listed it, and it didn't sell. What on earth do you do now? So we bought this house for $54,000, did a basic clean out, took good pictures, listed it at 89, and it just sat and sat and sat and didn't sell. So what do you do? Well, we took it off market, did a full remodel to it, and listed it for substantially more. Typically, the big objection I hear to people about trying to wholetail is, well, you can't take something off market, list it for more, and then expect it to sell, but you definitely can. This place needed a full-on remodel. I'm talking new flooring, new paint, new kitchen, new bath, even HVAC. It was a giant remodel. This particular deal was funded by one of our investors, so we pay about 8% interest and 1% for the origination, so effectively 9% APR for capital. This particular lender, how we have it structured, we don't pay them payments while cash is out. It's all billed at resale. So effectively, our out-of-pocket costs would have just been any construction overages or things like utilities or light bills while we were waiting. All in all, after the remodel and private money costs, we ended up all into this deal for right at about $98K. We turned around and listed it for $150,000. So on a failed wholetail, we ended up making right at about $37,000. Now, on this video, I'm going to walk you through not only how we found that deal, but also a really goofy way we ended up getting this thing sold. I like to do these screen shares with you guys of like, here's how I pulled the list, here's the piece I sent, so you can literally just copy and paste it and deploy what works for me in your own backyard. This particular seller was on an interfamily transfer list, meaning the property had traded hands inside the family without like a formal resale. Her father had actually passed away and she was one of two heirs on the property. They'd never sold a property and didn't really know kind of what to expect. One of the things I really like that we do in Sold Fast is full transparency. So we straight told the seller what her house was worth on market as is, what we thought it would be worth all the way fixed up, as well as what we could pay cash. Her asking price was $50,000. We ended up actually paying $4,000 more because that's what our system told us we could pay. So she got $54,000 for it. So how you would pull an interfamily transfer list in your market, you would want to hop into PropStream. They're one of the tools we use heavily on this channel. I have made more money off PropStream than I can count. One of my rules, if I'm going to promote something, it has to be a tool I'm paying for and generating a profit from. So here's, 37,000 reasons why I like PropStream. So right here in the search filter, you're going to punch in the market that you're in. For the sake of this example, I'm just going to do Nashville. Helps if I spell Nashville correctly. And I'm going to click on there. Next, you're going to go to this filters guy, and on owner information type, what we're looking for is interfamily transfer here. We want to include that. On all of the lists that I pull, I do a 35 to 100% equity filter so they can afford to sell the place to me, ideally at a little bit of a discount. I'm going to go over to equity, and we're going to go to 35 to 100%. And then lastly, we got to pick what kind of property type it is. On this one, I'm looking at residential single family. The only other thing I'm probably going to throw in here, let's do owned by an individual, so not a corporation or a trust. In a giant market like Nashville, there's only 793 of these. So this isn't a big, giant, expensive campaign, especially because you're probably in a metro smaller than Nashville. Now, if we were going to actually pull that list, we'd check this box here, go actions, save, create the new list we want to add it to, and type in Nashville interfamily transfer. I'm not going to waste my credits on something I'm not going to mail, but effectively it goes over here into my properties. Would look something like this. You'd simply check the box and hit export to extract that mailing list from PropStream. When it comes to the direct mail, obviously I use Ballpoint marketing. I own Ballpoint, so why wouldn't I use my own company? So we sent the seller one of the hybrid greeting letters. We've been doing a ton of these lately. So if you go to the site and go to products, there are these guys here. I personally really like this floral one. Transparently, what we do in our market, we do so much mail that we have our own custom envelopes. So it's a Sold Fast branded envelope with a Sold Fast branded insert. chances are you're not going to be doing, 50,000 plus pieces at a time. So you're going to be going smaller than that. I would do something like the floral style, but you can still brand it for your company. So your logo at the top, your logo at the bottom. For this Nashville example, right? Got 785 here. That campaign would cost you like $670, give or take. With the hybrids, the outside is actually written by robots that hold pens in cursive, and the inside is printed. So you kind of get that like better open rate, but your cost isn't $1.50 a piece. The buyer on this deal was a super interesting situation. If there's anything I've learned from all my years in real estate, it's that when you have somebody who wants to buy a house, try to work with them to make it happen. When I sold my primary in Florida, literally had one offer, and that was who bought the house. My folks just sold their place out in North Carolina. They had one offer, and it was who bought the house. So you might not get another, and you might want to work with what you have brought to you, even if it's goofy, which this one definitely was. The seller on this one lost her house to like eminent domain. So the city wanted her property. So they effectively like bought it from her and then gave her cash to go shop for her next place. The problem we ran into was that they only gave her $105,000 and our house was $150,000. Now, fortunately for us, we were only into the deal for $98K. So what we ended up deciding to do was effectively take a $105,000 government-backed down payment from her and then owner finance the remaining balance of like $44K. We ended up agreeing to a 9% rate and a 25-year amortization. Now, Noah and I weren't wanting to wait 25 years to get cashed out on this thing. So what we ended up doing was finding a note buyer to then go buy that mortgage from us. So we ended up reaching out to the folks over at bostonnote.com, the Boston Note Company. I want to say our face value on the note was like $44,000 and some change, and they bought it from us for right at 36-37. So there was effectively like 6-ish K that we lost in there, but got cashed out on it. We ended up tying up only 98 and walked with a net profit of 37. I'll do that all day long on a failed wholesale. Now, I've sold some notes in the past, so if you're thinking about getting into creative financing, I don't want you to think this is as simple as you get somebody to agree to terms, you take it to Boston Note Company, and you just get cashed out. Note buyers typically are pretty picky. I think why this one was particularly appealing was the loan to value's absurd, right? The property's a $150,000 house. The debt on it in a first position was like $44K. Pretty hard to lose money there. Typically, if you're going to be selling a note, especially if it's a larger one, there's some things savvy note buyers are going to be looking for, or they're going to be wanting a steep discount. Most folks aren't aware of this, but technically if you're selling on owner finance, you're supposed to get that person like fully underwrote the way the note is compliant. Typically you would go through like an RMLO, residential mortgage loan originator, I think is what that stands for. And they're going to do things like check their credit, their income, their job history, as well as their availability to repay, and certify that that buyer can afford that house. It's one of the huge issues I have with like people that are doing subject to deals and then selling it to other buyers. They're not putting them through that process, and there's some potential Dodd-Frank implications there, particularly if they're doing more than a couple a year. If you're in a position that you've got a project that you want to get to, but you know it's going to take a couple weeks, I'm still a big believer of clean it out, take some pictures, throw it on market, and see if it flies off the shelf. I don't regret at all doing this deal. I also don't regret trying to wholetail it. If anything, it gives us a good data point of what folks are looking for or not in this particular area. This one was pretty rough. It needed air conditioning and a new kitchen and new bath. This wasn't something somebody could just move into. And apparently it was a bigger project than what the average investor was looking for. I guess especially because I was asking 89 for it and I only paid 54. Hopefully you guys enjoy these like in the trenches, real stories of what it takes to get some of these deals actually done and across the finish line. This was by no means a very simple, like we remodeled it and then somebody bought it. We had to jump through all kinds of hoops with the city, with her attorney, with terms in the agreement. But I mean, I'm not upset about $37,000. Thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with me. Hopefully you guys like these kind of like no gatekeeped, everything covered type videos. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. Again, my name is Ryan Dossey. Talk to y'all next time.